Thanks for the introduction, and thanks to everybody for braving the New York weather. I am a New Yorker and live here, and like all good startups, ISIS is located on Park Avenue, a few blocks away from here. So we welcome you to the city. I'm Ed Busby. I'm the Chief Commerce Officer at ISIS. I'm sure all of your companies have a Chief Commerce Officer, and you're very familiar with what I do. But for those who don't, I head up the commerce business, which includes all of our advertising, all of our promotions. In the near term, I'm responsible with Jim Stapleton, for those who know him, our head of sales, for getting great content into the wallet to drive people to habituate and use the wallet every single day. We here at ISIS think that NFC is an enormous opportunity, and I want to leave you with a few ideas throughout the presentation. First, I want you to understand NFC is inevitable. The opportunity is here. We are placing our bets on NFC. There's been a lot of questions about whether ISIS was sticking with NFC or not. We are solid believers in NFC, and we want you to be too. Second, the opportunity is now. The time to start moving and start working with the ecosystem is here. Those who move early are going to get a distinct advantage over those who decide to wait. And third, we are an open platform. We are looking to partner with everybody that's out there, everybody in this room. So if you want to work with us, please come up afterwards and say hi. So we want to kick this off with our vision of the future. We look at NFC and we look at mobile payments around the world, and we think it really does have the opportunity to transform the way people shop, the way they pay, and ultimately the way they live their lives. So we put together a brief video, which hopefully will work, to give you a sense of how we see the world. So we think that is the vision of the future. We're obviously not going to get here overnight, so I don't want people walking out of here running down to our soon-to-be started pilot cities and expect that everybody is going to be walking in and out of grocery stores without pay. In fact, that's probably one of the things the grocery stores are worried about. But the vision for the future, that people are going to be able to use this technology and it's going to change their lives. It's going to bring a new way for people to shop, to pay, to save, is the future we're working towards. So I want to talk a bit about the marketplace and why we think this is such a big opportunity, and again, why we think NFC is inevitable. So I don't think it's any secret to this room that the market for smartphones is exploding. I don't think any of us would be here in this room if we didn't think that was true. Our estimates are that in 2011, a little less than half the smartphones the phones out there were smartphones. That's going to go up to, we think, almost 3 in 4 by the year 2015. And people will expect those phones to do a lot more than they do today. 25% of US mobile phone web users are only using the mobile phone to access the web already today. It's forecasted that people are going to be 50 million people in the US by 2015 will be doing mobile banking, an incredible amount of folks. And for this reason, we believe the mobile payments market is enormous. Forecasts are in the hundreds of billions of dollars. in terms of the value of this market. So we know that consumers are going to look at this market, and we have a very strong confidence that they will adopt it. Why? Well, first we look overseas. Consumers in Tokyo, in Seoul, and around the world are already using their phones to pay. Even here in the US, $33 million of mobile payments were made in 2012. That is a broad spectrum of payments that will be expected, so it's going to include things like mobile carrier payments, but it shows that people are accepting mobile payments already. NFC is obviously a very small piece of that market today, but we think that is going to be the driver of growth, and the forecasts are that this market will have over 90 million users by 2016. And as we look here in the US, we can already see people starting to pay with their phone at places like Starbucks, at places like Dunkin' Donuts. So the trend is catching on fast already. And our own consumer research supports the fact that consumers want to pay with their phone. When we talk to consumers, there are an amazing amount of consumers that are looking to use the technology. I've looked at new technologies for years as a consultant. I rarely see numbers that look like this. Over 85% of consumers polled were interested in using the mobile wallet. So that tells us this is not just the early tech adopters, right? This is not going to be just young 20-something males on smartphones. This is the broad population that's going to look at this, right? These are going to be consumers, men and women, who are out there spending day to day, right? These are the people that merchants want to get to. Almost 3/4 of them want to add their store loyalty cards as well, which opens up an enormous opportunity for merchants. Loyalty cards do a few things for merchants. Number one, they obviously enable a lot of their programs for how consumers save money. They also provide valuable tracking information, so they can now see how consumers are shopping in their stores and across their stores. And in the future, we're going to enable them to use that to target their messages to consumers. So it's a vital part of the way that our ecosystem is going to work in the future and how merchants will be able to take advantage. So what drives this level of interest? I always say there are three things that are going to really drive this market in the future. The first, quite frankly, is novelty. Second is convenience. And the third, ultimately, we believe, will be value. So let's talk about the novelty factor for a moment. When I first tested out our ISIS wallet, it was actually on my 40th birthday. I was down in Miami Beach, not a launch market for any of us. Obviously, they hadn't seen the technology before. And like most mornings, when I'm traveling, I actually went to McDonald's, where I have my morning breakfast sandwich, Egg McMuffin. Small plug to McDonald's there. I walked, I ordered, and I tapped and paid with the phone. The guy behind the counter literally jumped back, and he said, "What is that? Is that some kind of app? Can I download that?" I said, "No, it's the ISIS wallet." And I said, you're going to have certain phones to be able to use it because it has a special chip on it to keep all of your data safe. And he said, "Well, what kind of phone?" I said, "Right now we have it on an Android phone." He said, "Oh, I just have an iPhone." And so that illustrates the power of this concept. I think novelty, quite frankly, will drive the initial adoption. And obviously the people who are blogging out there who are excited about this do tend to be the forward tech adopters. But ultimately, we believe it's going to be convenience that will drive the medium-term adoption of the phone. It has to be easy. We hear that from consumers. We hear that from merchants. As was mentioned, I teach a class up at Columbia, business school students, mostly between the ages of 25 and 30 years old. I asked the question, how many of you drink, shop and drink Starbucks coffee regularly? As you can imagine, all these caffeine latent students shot their hands up. Pretty much everybody did. I said, how many of you, these roughly 45 students, how many of you are using the app? And roughly 4 or 5 students stuck up their hands. Then I asked them, how often do you go to Starbucks? And they were all the 2, 3, and 4 times a day drinkers. So these were the more energetic of my students, as you can probably imagine. And I asked them, why are you using it? And every single one of them said, it wasn't for the points, it wasn't for any of that, it was just faster. It was easier. They were going there all the time, and it allowed them to get through the line a bit faster. They were waiting in line, they'd pull up the app. The first time they did it, they thought it was cool, but ultimately, they started using it, and this was back in March timeframe, so it was relatively new. They were using it for the convenience factor. And we can see that when we ask consumers, even without using the technology, what would be the driver for you? And almost 70% cited convenience and ease of use for payment. Less so about the mobile discounts and things like that. However, long-term, we do think it will ultimately be about value. And for that, we look overseas. Again, I go back to McDonald's. You probably think of a pretty big fast food eater. It pretty much does breakfast. And so we look at McDonald's over in Japan. How did Docomo get so successful at mobile payments in Japan? And it was really about the joint venture that they had with McDonald's. They worked together with McDonald's, jointly funded the infrastructure. And it wasn't just offers. Offers are a dime a dozen. People all, as we'll show in the numbers, people get offers from a large variety of sources. But it was actually loyalty programs. When they could incentivize people, buy 4 and get the 5th one free and drive them back to the store. That's what got people habituated on using the technology. That combined with transit. And we're working very hard on both pieces of that. So ultimately, we do think that people are going to fall in love with this technology because of the value that we're able to bring. And that's really the role that we think commerce is going to bring long term. So we think the answer is clear that people are going to be paying with their phones in one form or another. And we applaud all the efforts from folks like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts that are out there who are driving people to start seeing their phone as something more than something to talk on and play games with. But it does leave the big question, how are people going to pay with their phones? And ultimately, what is going to be the technology? And, and there's been a lot of discussions about different form factors. QR codes and barcodes, obviously, given the success of Starbucks lately, have been a big focus of analysis of the marketplace. Remote line busting solutions, even Bluetooth. But we here at ISIS obviously are placing the bet on NFC. We think that NFC is the best solution. And increasingly, we're seeing the ecosystem holding hands and really driving towards that. Why? Well, it's the easiest and fastest. Works great for merchants. It's the most secure solution, which is extremely important to issuers, particularly open-loop credit card companies that are looking for secure solutions. And we believe it is ultimately the most scalable solution. Very important to ISIS because our economics are pretty much linked to getting big and getting big fast. So we need solutions that are scalable. And NFC is the most scalable solution. So when we talk about NFC, we always talk about the need to create a two-sided market. On the one side of the market, you have consumers, and on the other side of the market, you have the merchants. And luckily, we bring one side. When I talk to my angel investing friends, they always talk about creating a two-sided market. If you've got eggs, you can get ham. If you've got ham, you can get eggs. But if you don't have either, you can't make an omelet. Well, the good thing is, coming from the carriers, we bring the ham, right? We actually have the phones. And we can tell you from the forecast that over the next couple of years, NFC really is going to become omnipresent. It's going to be as common as cameras are today, as Bluetooth is today. It is going to become the accepted technology. And when you look at at all the telcos, all of them have really gotten on the NFC bandwagon, both our partners and our non-partners. So, and then if you look at most of the large manufacturers, either they are on board with the NFC trend, or we believe they will be coming aboard very, very soon. And don't worry, we have solutions for those who have not yet come aboard. And as we said, the consumers are already very excited about the technology. So that gives us the ham. What about the eggs? The merchants. People can have this great technology, but what we've learned is if there's not a place for them to use it, they're not going to adopt it. And we need people to get habituated. We need people to be using this day in and day out. So what gives us confidence that the eggs are going to be coming? Well, the first thing is the series of the credit card mandates, and all of the credit card companies are out there now driving contactless. And if you have contactless, you can use the ISIS technology. So we know that by 2015, the credit card companies are going to be pushing the responsibility for fraud back to the merchants unless they implement these solutions. And as we look at the reader companies, all the major reader companies are at least making their readers upgradable easily to NFC. So we know that the technology will come in 2015, and we're just doing everything possible now to bring that date forward, so we don't have to wait 2 years, 2-3 years for people to be able to use the technology. And as these figures show, we're not alone. Folks out there are forecasting very broad distribution of NFC phones, point of sales, terminals as well. Forecast by 2017 that 86% of all the terminals in North America will be contactless. So that gives us great confidence in the future of NFC. So there are a lot of people that are now jumping on the NFC bandwagon. Why do we think that ISIS is ultimately going to succeed? So one of the most common questions I get is, how the heck did all of these companies who historically have hated each other actually get together and create this consortium? And it's a lot of fun working with them. I had one of the other sayings in angel investing is that having investors on your board are like martinis. 1 is not enough, 3 is way too many, and 2 is just about right. So we've got 3. But it's been amazing that they have come together and held hands and really are making this work. Why did they do that? Well, all of us who have been in the industry have worked with the telcos, and they've all been looking for growth initiatives. And this has been on the books since at least 2007 for all of these companies. And even the largest of them would go out and talk to merchants about creating this new mobile payments technology, and they all heard the same thing. You can bring me 30% of the market, but what do I do about the other 70% of the market? One company cannot come and do this on their own. We like to say it takes a village. And so AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon got together, formed the joint venture, ISIS, and hired the crew, including me, to really drive this initiative and take responsibility for the secure element that sits on the phone. And that gives us incredible advantage in the market. Our partners have 200 million customers. They have over 20,000 retail outlets. And they're responsible for over 75% of smartphone sales. So finally, there is a force in the market to really be able to drive this forward. And so we convened the industry. We brought together and spent a lot of our time making sure the industry sticks together, bringing together issuers, making sure that people can use the cards that they have. Consumers tell us that. They don't want new cards. They want to be able to use the cards that are already in their wallet. Networks. We have all of the networks under the tent at this point. So merchants don't have to go out and install new readers and new systems. Merchants, we're going to show you in a couple of slides all the great partners that we have on board, and with more to come, both large and small. And of course, we bring the carriers. So we're here trying to create as open a platform as possible. For those issuers who aren't on board, we welcome you to come on board. For merchants who aren't yet part of our ecosystem, we welcome you to come on board. We're leveraging the existing NFC technology, supporting the existing ecosystem, which already has a head start running ahead of the rest of the technologies. And we're expanding and welcoming new partners. So if you're interested, come up and talk to me later. So again, the payment networks, they give us large-scale flexibility. The issuers, multiple existing accounts. You've seen the announcements that are out there. Great partners like Chase and Capital One and American Express and Barclaycard, all joining with us. So lots of choice for consumers. It's all about providing as much choice as possible. OEMs, a wide variety of phones and accessory options for consumers to choose from. Terminals, we're working with everybody. So the merchants don't have to go out and get a new terminal manufacturer. All the great manufacturers that are out there are providing the NFC service. And merchants, large and small, again, reflecting how consumers shop today. So again, it's all about choice. So as we said, lots of push for this. 75% of mobile phones in our ecosystem, 70% of smartphones, all the card types, 178 million credit cards, and around 90% of the terminals that are out there. And I told you about our national merchant partners. People ask, why have these people come on board so early, making the investment in a technology that there's still some questions about. We obviously don't have questions, but still is a question mark out there. And I've got to say, our partners have been great. They've been very enthusiastic about coming on board. They want to be in the vanguard. They want to learn how this technology works. They want to learn how to use the technology to drive consumers into their store, to provide them with a new shopping experience within that store. So, great companies like Macy's and Aeropostale and Foot Locker and Jamba Juice have joined us early on to roll out this technology. But I don't want to give you a sense that these are the core of companies that are going to drive this, that are just the companies that are going to drive this technology going forward. The reality is, ISIS acceptance reaches well beyond our partners. And contactless terminals are either deployed or in the process of being deployed across a wide number of merchants out there. Places where people can use the technology day in and day out, where again, we can get that habituation of the consumer. Great places where they can have fast food like McDonald's, that is already contactless. Places where they can shop for food, places like H-E-B, Wegmans, Whole Foods. Places where they can pick up prescriptions like CVS and Walgreens, as well as a host of other great merchants that they can shop at. So, given the fact that this technology has been rolled out at lots of national merchants, as we look across the U.S., most of the big national cities, we estimate we can get 15–20% terminal coverage. But that wasn't enough for us. 15 to 20% of the transactions could be enabled with contactless. But that wasn't enough. We really wanted to see how do we drive habituation. And so we chose two pilot cities, Salt Lake and Austin, to launch our technology. People often ask us, why these two cities? Well, we wanted to do a couple of things with the pilots. The first was just to learn, understand, what works and what doesn't work with our carriers to make sure that they knew how to sell in the stores. But also, we wanted to experiment with cities and really drive these cities 2–3 years down the road, so we can get a sense of what is this, a better sense of what does this technology really look like at scale. So we looked for cities that had a few characteristics. First, we wanted cities that were more tech forward. We were sure that we could at least get some initial adoption. And Austin and Salt Lake City were great for that, given the great core of tech companies that were there and the strong college population as well. Second, we wanted to look for cities that were self-contained media markets, so that we could put the investment there and understand as we push advertising, how does that affect each individual market. So We obviously couldn't get all the national merchants on board right away. It's hard to move a national merchant to put in terminals. So we made investments in local marketing in both Austin and Salt Lake to drive more local merchant acceptance, particularly in places like QSR, so we could get that habituation going. So what you see on this in the following page in Austin and Salt Lake are the list of great local merchants that are there. So consumers that are in these markets will be able to buy at both large national merchants as well as the smaller local merchants. You can see this is the list for Salt Lake City as well. The other great thing that Salt Lake City gave us was the transit, the Utah Transit Authority. So when we looked overseas, again, looking back at Japan as an example, Japan taught us that transit is very important to getting adoption. Nothing will drive adoption like speeding people through their commute in the morning. And for those who tried to do the commute this morning here in New York, you probably can agree. So the Utah Transit Authority has been cooperating with us to put together some great programs to drive people to use transit. And the lessons we're going to take from that are going to ultimately allow us to be very successful in cities like Chicago, New York, DC, Boston, Atlanta, San Francisco, places where transit is an important part of people's day-to-day lives. So we're very excited about all of these efforts that we're pushing. When we look beyond the local markets in Austin and Salt Lake, the reality is we are not set up to hire an army of thousands of people to go out to all the local businesses across the country. So what are we doing? We're partnering with acquirers. I love the old saying, Archimedes, give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it and I'll move the world. So, here the acquirers are giving us the leverage. They are going out there and bringing those small Tier 3 and Tier 4 merchants into our ecosystem. Great folks like Movie Squad who've actually rebranded themselves around the ISIS proposition. Why are they coming on board? Well, a couple things. One, it gives them something interesting to talk about with merchants, so it allows them to get in the door. But second, it really differentiates their proposition as they're talking to those merchants, providing something different than everybody else who's out there. But third, and what really is exciting for me as the commerce lead at ISIS is that we're working with them to create business models so that they can drive loyalty, offers, and other programs on an ongoing basis and create ongoing revenue streams with those Tier 3 and Tier 4 merchants. So again, getting back to that open platform, we're looking for ways to partner with folks out there to create ways that all of us can make money in this market and really drive the adoption of this technology. So let's turn to the ISIS wallet in particular. So the market is there, right? Consumers are out there looking for deals wherever they go. The Groupons, how many deal sites are out there, both the daily deals as well as coupon sites, and the consumer wants that, right? But the reality is consumers are feeling overwhelmed today. We like to say the new status is how much you save, but there are really too many programs to keep track of. People are afraid of leaving their coupons at home when they have them, and they're less embarrassed about seeking out deals, but are hard to find relevant deals. The other things that we hear from our partners that people are still somewhat embarrassed to be taking out coupons and showing them, or even showing their phones. Particularly if you've shelled out $600 for a phone, the idea of handing it over to somebody who might drop it is neither a great proposition for the consumer nor for the merchant, quite frankly. But then we turn to the merchants, right? The other side of this equation, again, getting back to my ham and egg omelet. And the merchants tell me, I have a friend, Alex Alvarez over at Banana Republic. He always tells me, Ed, why is it everybody is knocking on my door all the time saying they can give my gross margin away faster than everybody else, right? And so ISIS is trying to solve both of these problems. We're trying to provide value for consumers, but ultimately providing a targeted platform so that merchants can give deals to people who generate the incremental revenue and still preserve their gross margin. So So what is the mobile wallet? So very simply right now, it's really around the first 3 points. Contactless payments, allowing you to pay from multiple accounts, either including our ISIS cash account, so you can do a preloaded cash card even if you don't have credit. Membership and loyalty programs, the opportunity to upload those loyalty cards, which we know are essential to both consumers and to merchants. And then personalized offers, rewards, and content. Offers that will get more personalized as we roll out the technology. And then in the future, we're going to expand this far beyond. Things like gift cards, store credit cards, other forms of store tender, instant ticketing for transit, sports, entertainment venues. And we have some great partners on board who are helping us work through the technology to make this happen as quickly as possible. So how does it work? It's very easy. For those who were here earlier and saw me demonstrating it, it's a very easy and simple technology. So consumers will download the wallet onto their NFC handsets off of the Play Store or iTunes, and eventually it will be preloaded onto the phones by the carriers. The user clicks an icon to launch the wallet, enters in their PIN, and they're pretty much ready to go. We'll also, as I mentioned, have accessories for the iPhone, thanks to the folks from Device Fidelity, who I believe are here somewhere. So consumers will be able to use this either on their Android or on their iPhone device, and we have plans to expand to other operating systems as well. So ultimately, we do think this will change how consumers shop, pay, and save. Why? Again, beyond novelty, it's going to be convenience. Integrated checkout experience, payments, offers, loyalty, all in one place. It will be ultimately value, we also believe, easier savings when purchased, directly targeted offers to the wallet, as well as the ability to clip coupons and offers from other places into the wallet. So as people are out looking on websites and getting emails, they're able to, with one clip to ISIS, bring those offers straight into the wallet. So when they're out there at the merchant, they can tap and those offers will go straight through and have easy redemption at the point of sale. It's maximum flexibility and freedom. Again, we're about choice. And one of the other big concerns out there, it's safer than your existing wallet. The PIN protection and one call to click or freeze your account. Try and do that with your leather wallet. So a broad array of benefits, both for merchants and consumers. On the merchant side, marketing, much more efficient, much more targeted, better consumer loyalty, faster operations, easier at checkout, ultimately cheaper, and a card-present transaction rate. Consumers, automatic savings, convenience of the consolidated payment offers and loyalty, flexibility and choice, control in how they spend their money, and increased security over existing choices. So everybody asks, when are you coming? Imminently. We will be launching in Salt Lake City and Austin. We will, in those cities, have ISIS carrier stores who will be fully dressed out to support the ISIS proposition, train staff there who will take consumers through the purchase experience and help them download it and use the technology, as well as a major advertising campaign across the board: video, digital, and out of home, television, cinema, and web. On digital, web, mobile, search, obviously social, and out of home, billboard. Happily with our UTA, the Utah Transit Authority partners, transit and print. So over 1 billion ISIS impressions will be driven in those markets. So again, number one, NFC, hopefully you're starting to believe, is inevitable. Number two, the time is now. So people are coming on board and experimenting with us, and we believe those who come aboard early will be able to take advantage of this in a much more advantaged way. And finally, we are open for business. We are an open platform. So if there's anybody here who wants to be a part of the ISIS ecosystem, please come up and talk to me later. Thank you.
I think we do. We're trying to have questions, interactions, so I think we got a couple minutes. If you're willing to people have questions, just take it away.
I can hear it.
I can.
David Trover with the Louisiana Group. Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
You're launching in Salt Lake and Austin, and obviously you're going to immediately start collecting data and results from those market tests. What is a win? How would you describe that?
What is a win? You know, from our perspective, we don't release our specific KPIs, but I think broadly speaking, we would want adoption by consumers. We would want to see those consumers driving to the stores that we have. We want to see the technology stable and working as it starts to scale up. I think, you know, from my experience in digital, too many solutions are sort of built haphazardly with a lot of bells and whistles, but you know, as they scale up, they break. So we want to make sure that, you know, we have a very stable solution, and we want to make sure that, you know, when people are going to pay, that it's accepted. We are looking to go national as fast as possible. We don't think, quite frankly, you know, that we could, even if we wanted to, that we could really contain this in Salt Lake and Austin for a long time. So we're looking to make sure this works. We're trying to get the lessons out of it as fast as possible, and looking to make this a nationwide phenomenon.
If ISIS works with the current NFC ecosystem that's out there, what does partnering with national retailers do for you if they already take NFC payments from PayPass or other cards like that?
Great question. So a couple things. Number one, there's still, believe it or not, a lot of merchants out there who aren't contactless. So we're out there trying to drive contactless acceptance as high as possible, as quickly as possible. We're doing that both directly with the merchants as well as working with the readers. The second thing we would observe is that content is going to drive people to these merchants, and we want consumers, quite frankly, to feel like acceptance is higher than it actually is. So how do we do that? We provide great content to drive them to those places where they can pay. So we're partnering with merchants and sometimes actually co-funding deals with them to create that great content for consumers to be there. Third, we are actively working with them to hone our product. We ultimately want a product that works very well for marketers that are out there, and work with operations as well. So we're working very closely with those merchants to make sure, as our product evolves in the future, that we're meeting their needs. And finally, ultimately, we do want to create a commerce business out of this. So I am seeding the future growth of what I hope to be the best new digital inventory out there.
Good morning. I have a couple of questions. First of all, patents. Have you researched the patent elements of your technology, and does it infringe or it has any concerns, especially on the loyalty side? Second thing is, I think what's missing to me in the presentation is the association. I didn't see any specific details about how ISIS is going to work for or with Visa, MasterCard. Does it provide any advantages to the merchants or to the issuers, or vice versa to the consumers? So if you can just elaborate a little bit about that. And you did mention in your answer some POS cooperation. I wonder, you mentioned a phenomenal amount of terminals, 43 million in 5 years, or was the number something like that? I mean,
Yes.
Big numbers. So is ISIS planning anything to do in that regard as far as encouraging more adaptation?
Sure, great question. So first question was about patents. We do not have a shortage of lawyers at ISIS. You look at our partners, and there is nobody that has the legal power in terms of manpower that the carriers do. And so we're working with all of the carriers to make sure that we are in line with all the regulatory requirements that are out there. And it is a challenge, but it's a challenge that we're working actively on. So second question was about the associations. As I mentioned, we are working with Visa, MasterCard, American Express. We work closely with them day in and day out to make sure the acceptance is there and to really enable the use of their technology and help them grow a reason to comply with their mandates. So we're working very closely with the associations, actually a very large part of our ecosystem. And we're providing reasons for everybody, including the POS manufacturers you mentioned, to come on board with us. It's a few pieces. One is to change the consumer value proposition and to really help our partners be at the forefront of that and to turn that into a competitive advantage for them. The second reason is that we're jointly creating business models for everybody. The great thing about this is we believe the pie is very large. And success of this is not going to be about us getting a larger slice of the pie, but making sure that the pie bakes and the pie is as large as possible. That is ultimately going to be success for us. So we're working with everybody to create that, including a lot of the POS manufacturers. We're looking at whole new ways of creating cloud-based technologies that will work with the ISIS technologies to complete the transaction, to provide a closed loop, and to ultimately make it a great experience for consumers, which, quite frankly, right now is our where we're spending the vast majority of our time.
One more.
Question for you about the ISIS revenue model going forward at a high level. Where do you plan to make your money in from?
We plan to make our money from our partners, issuers, and from merchants. As one would imagine, we don't divulge our specific forecast. But I would say this is a market with an enormous amount of potential, not just from those folks, but if you look more broadly at the environment, there are lots of places where one can imagine making money. I'll give you an example. We talk to a lot of the digital ad networks that are out there. So those are the people that are putting those little banner ads on all of the websites that you join. And one of the big questions that they have is, well, what is the actual effectiveness of our digital ad inventory? Does it really, what is the value of a click? Does it really drive people to make a purchase? So by using Clip to ISIS and attaching it to some of those banner ads, you can actually close the loop for them with a subset of the people who click there. So they can actually demonstrate that the impression not only left an impression, but that it actually resulted in a purchase. So that's just one example of the value that we can create in the broader ecosystem. So when you ask us where we can make money, we have obviously the partners that we have require us to have very in-depth forecasts, but I'm confident that there's going to be enough value to be created in the broader ecosystem that we're not going to have a problem with that.
Hi, how can I help you? Sorry for my accent. I will go forward on you think what's interaction with Visa and MasterCard. Visa has a stake in Square today. They are clone of Square in Europe, and Visa from day one stopped processing their transactions through its network. So what happening if tomorrow Visa, for example, which wants to think about the mobile wallet, stops your transactions?
So I'm not going to comment about the situation of our competitors. What I will say is we're working very closely with all of our partners. At this point, people are putting in so much sweat equity into making this work. I would be stunned if any of them didn't continue to support us going forward.
So that means that Visa invested in you? They have a...
No.
So if they stop, what do you do?
Well,
if they say they don't want your network to work with.
I said sweat equity, not equity.
Any other questions? Thanks.
Okay.